Hi everyone and welcome back to Bonnie Astrology. Today we are doing the horoscopes for 2023. There are huge astrological shifts happening in 2023. In March we have Saturn and Pluto changing signs. Saturn is moving out of Aquarius into Pisces and Pluto is moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. We have Jupiter going through Aries until May and then moving into Taurus. And we have the North Node going through Taurus until July and moving into Aries. We also have a very dramatic Venus retrograde in Leo in the summertime. These are going to mean different things for each of the zodiac signs, but you can bet if you have Aries, Taurus, Pisces, or Aquarius in your big three that you're going to be one of the main characters in 2023. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for regular updates on what the stars are saying for you in 2023. I'll be here every step of the way to guide. And if you want to book a 2023 reading with me, there are some spots still available for January. You can reach me at the email address in the description box. It's the only place you can get me, and I will not be reaching out to you first to solicit a reading because those are usually scammers. I say usually, they're always scammers. So watch out for that in the comment section. So, if you want to know what this wonderful year of 2023 has in store for you, your timestamps are listed below for your individual zodiac signs. You can watch your rising sign for the most accurate results. You can watch your moon and your sun as well, especially if you have, as I say, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, in your big three, or Aquarius in your big three. You can watch those as well because it will be hitting on different points that will be applicable to you. I just want to take a moment to thank you all for your continued love and support for this channel over this year on both my YouTube and my Instagram, and also all my wonderful clients that I have met this year and also revisited your astrology with this year as well. I just want to thank you all for your love and support, and I want to cheers you with my ginger ale in a Prosecco glass or a champagne glass to a wonderful and prosperous 2023. I hope that your most desired wish and manifestation comes to fruition for you in 2023. So cheers to 2023. May it be a good one. Timestamps are listed below, and I'll see you all soon. Hi Aries, welcome to your horoscope for 2023. Aries, you are one of the main characters of 2023, which I'm sure you are excited to hear. Jupiter is going to be moving through your sign until May 2023, and this is a time where you will be feeling a confidence boost, optimistic, hopeful, like you can achieve anything. This is going to put a lot of focus on you, and you can bet that you're going to grow and expand as a person. This is going to be a time when you really feel like you can achieve what it is that you want to do. This is also a prime glow up energy where you may be feeling more confident in your appearance. You may be feeling more adventurous when it comes to your appearance. You might be trying something new in terms of style, especially in April where we have a new moon solar eclipse in your sign at 29 degrees. You could completely change your style, your image, you could rebrand yourself. And from July onwards, the North Node is going to be in your sign, which is going to bring fated changes to you personally, your wants, your desires, your personality. You're going to change up your style, you're going to change up your image, you're going to change your direction, and you're likely going to be moving into a more independent time, Aries, where you're really focusing on your personal wants and needs this year. The South Node in July will by default be in Libra, your 7th house, and on the 14th of October we have a new moon solar eclipse in your 7th house, which means that for those of you who are single, there may be a new relationship forming this year that is fated or destined in some way. For those of you in relationships, they may move to the next level, and for some of you this may be changes in terms of separations and divorce. It will depend on your individual birth chart and the state of your relationship this year, Aries, but there's likely going to be fated changes coming in your relationship sector as well. Fated encounters, fated meetings, fated changes in your relationship sector. In March, Saturn moves into Pisces, and this is your 12th house. So you're being asked to take accountability and responsibility when it comes to your inner world. You might be working on something behind the scenes for the next couple of years. You might also be doing some intense inner work where you have maybe been running away from or escaping something, Aries, on a personal level, perhaps some sort of trauma, or perhaps something that needs to be healed within you, within your subconscious, that might be revealed to you through dreams. Saturn going through the 12th is likely a time when you may consult a therapist or a healer of some kind to work through something you need to work through that has possibly been avoided for a little too long. And this is where you're going to grow. You're really going to grow on a soul level. You're really going to grow on a subconscious level, really work through some things and gain a lot of perspective and maturity. Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 23rd, and Pluto's only going to be here until June, but this is going to be pushing you to seek changes in your friendship and social relationships, because you're going to want them to be more authentic and resonant with you on a soul level. You're going to want to be associated with people who really share your value system, who really resonate with you. Anything where there is issues surrounding control in terms of your friendships or your social life, Aries, you may notice changes. This can be a cycle of leaving behind certain friendships. This can be a cycle of leaving behind certain teams and certain groups in search of people that are more resonant for you and you feel more comfortable around. Jupiter moves into your financial sector on the 16th, which can bring an expansive energy to your finances and your income. Your money is likely to increase during this period. This is likely to be money that you're making. This is likely to be an increase in your salary or some sort of gift financially that boosts your finances. This can also bring about increased spending, so you have been warned. Make sure you're saving some of it for a rainy day, or you can blow through all the extra money very quickly with Jupiter in the second. As I said, when the North Node moves into your sign in July, you're really focused on your own personal goals. You're going to do what it is that you want to do. You're going to change your appearance or your image in some way. You're going to go after certain goals, and you're going to notice a lot of fated changes in terms of who you are and who you're becoming, Aries. There's a Venus retrograde in the summertime from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. And this is going to be a time where you are considering what love means to you. It's going to be perhaps a time where in a current relationship you are injecting more romance into your relationship. If it has been running dry, you might be trying to incorporate more dates or bring back the romance into your marriage, or bring back the romance into your life in general. And for some of you that are single, you might reconnect with a partner from the past. For others of you, this can be that there are certain repetitive issues when it comes to your children that need to be addressed or come up again in some way. And for some of you, this could also be a pregnancy, Aries. So that is how your summer is looking. We're also going to have the final eclipses on the Scorpio-Taurus axis on the 5th of May and the 28th of October. On the 5th of May, I feel like a lot of you with the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio are letting go of something. It might be a fear. You might be conquering a fear or a phobia. You might be letting go of something on a psychological level, finally feeling a weight lifted. On the 28th of October, there's a full moon lunar eclipse in your financial sector, Taurus. This might be a time where there is money coming in or money coming out on a big scale, or your finances are changing dramatically. Now with Jupiter there, perhaps this is going to be a significant financial boost to you, Aries. But this is looking like a really interesting year for you with so much happening in your first house. It's shining the focus on you and your money in a big way this year, Aries. But with Saturn in the 12th house, it's also asking you to feel it, to heal it, and not run away from the emotions or the relationship to the divine and the spiritual. A lot of you may find over the next 3 years that you become more spiritual, connect with healers, or maybe incorporate more meditation or spiritual practice into your routine, because you're being asked to lean into it. And it's usually in the second half of the cycle you notice it the most, but in the first half of the cycle, Aries, you might be aware of the fact that there are some things you would like to work through, or you're finally ready to face. That's what I have for you for 2023, Aries. I hope you have a beautiful year, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Taurus, welcome to your 2023 horoscope. Taurus, you are one of the main players this year. We have the North Node in your sign still until July, which is bringing about the new path, the new destiny, the new image that you're carving for yourself, stepping into your most authentic authentic version of you, connecting with who you truly are and how you want to live going forward. It's bringing about changes in style, image, personal wants, personal desires, personal preferences even, and it's pushing you into a new era of being, especially as you have Uranus there. You're really being asked to step out of your comfort zone, Taurus, in the first half of the year in particular. But from May, Jupiter is going to move into your sign and is going to connect with the North Node. This is where you're seeing a lot of benefit from the changes and the destined events that have been happening for you in terms of your personal self, Taurus. You might notice something very lucky for you is happening in the spring going into the summer. There's a lucky new opportunity, a lucky new way of living, a more abundant way of living, more personal growth, personal expansion, and you might have some very serendipitous events that lead to great change for you, Taurus, that you really enjoy. If you've any Taurus placements between 0 and 15 degrees, you're really going to notice the benefit from Jupiter, but all Taurus risings are going to notice the expansive, optimistic growth coming to themselves in the second half of the year. You might be more optimistic, you might be more encouraged, you might be more confident, Taurus. And it's also a real glow up energy. So with Jupiter going through your first house, you might be finding better styles that suit you. Sometimes when Jupiter goes through your first house, you can actually notice, Taurus, that the trends in the shops in terms of clothes or jewelry or accessories, or hairstyles, the trends that are out there are usually things that are flattering for you. You'll notice that the styles are more flattering for you, or the fits are more flattering for you, or there is more things available to enhance your image in some way, Taurus. This can be a time when you really have a glow up moment with Jupiter in your first house. But if it's not even physical transformations, which I feel like it is because you have the North Node and Jupiter there, you might also just be feeling better about yourself, more confident, and this is going to push you to take more risks and grow as a person. We have Saturn moving into Pisces in the 7th. So for you, Taurus, this is going to take the restriction out of your career zone. You've likely grown and matured a lot when it comes to career, when it comes to your social reputation. And Saturn moving into your 11th house is a time when it comes to what you want for the future. You're going to have to take a more mature and disciplined approach to making your dreams come true. This can also bring about changes in your friendships. You might realize you have outgrown certain friendships. You might realize that certain friendships are not wise for you anymore. They're not a wise choice. Certain groups, maybe certain social areas or social circles that you're a part of, and you might be moving towards ones that are more authentic. Saturn brings a need for maturity. So as I say, when it comes to your wishes and what you want to achieve for the future, you're being called to bring a very mature, rational, reasoned energy into it. And where you've been running away or escaping from what it is that you really want through distractions, you're being asked to stop doing that. And you're also being asked to make things happen rather than let them live in your head. Saturn going through the 11th house is a time where you might actually start working towards a dream and something that you really want. And this will end up being a great gift to you, Taurus. Pluto is moving into your career zone though in March as well on the 23rd, and it's only going to be there until June. But in terms of your career, you've grown a lot, you've matured a lot, but what is your soul telling you? Pluto in your 10th house is going to bring a soul requirement for whatever it is that you're doing, maybe a soul contract with a particular type of profession, but you're going to need to feel really deeply connected with what it is that you're doing in your professional life, what it is that you're doing in terms of leaving a legacy behind. You might find yourself very focused between March and June on what kind of legacy you're going to leave, Taurus. As I say, Jupiter moves into your sign on the 16th of May during your season, so birthday season may be particularly blessed for you, Taurus. The North Node is leaving your sign and moving into Aries on the 17th of July. So the North Node is going into your 12th house. This is a time of letting go. You're going to want to focus on healing. This may be a time when you connect with the right type of spiritual teacher, spiritual mentor. You might develop your spiritual practice. You might develop your relationship with the divine. You might have very destined spiritual encounters. You could discover a spiritual gift This is going to put a lot of focus into your hidden world and your hidden realms, Taurus. So you might be experimenting with the more spiritual world. A lot of people will be very interested in these things in Saturn and Pisces transits that weren't ordinarily interested before. But for you, this is about taking the direction in this area. You might connect with the right kind of therapist, the right kind of healer, the right kind of mentor to help you work through something that may be sitting in your subconscious or something that has been suppressed. So by default, the South Node is going to be in your 6th house, Libra. There's going to be a new moon solar eclipse in Libra in October. So for you, Taurus, you might actually be changing jobs this year. You might actually be changing where you work. You might be changing up your routine. And there might be some fated events or transformations when it comes to your health and your well-being, Taurus. But you're really going to be focusing, I think, especially in the second half of the year, but also the first half with Jupiter in your 12th house, you're going to be focusing on your mental health. With Jupiter in Aries in the first half and then the North Node in Aries in the second half, you can bet that you're going to be expanding your spiritual world, expanding your healing practice. You're going to feel very connected to the divine. You're going to feel like you have a guardian angel, and you're going to be more psychic and tapped in than usual. And some of you may actually start working with a spiritual gift before the end of the year. We have a Venus retrograde in Leo from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September, and this retrograde is going to be affecting you, Taurus, when it comes to home and family matters. This isn't an ideal time to move. It's not an ideal time to change residency. This could be a moment where you're reevaluating your relationship with your family, with the people that you live with. There could be some hiccups coming up here that need to be addressed, or there might be some revisiting in terms of your home. Not a great time to redecorate. I had Venus go through my 4th house in 2020, and anything that I bought for my home, I genuinely look at now and think, why? Why? So this is not the summer to redecorate or do something with your home, because Venus retrograde can really alter our style, and because Venus is your 1st house ruler, this might be a time when you feel really out of sorts in terms of what you're buying. I wouldn't recommend buying very much in the summer, Leo, with Venus retrograde in your 4th house. But Leo, Taurus, Taurus, this is your 4th house, Taurus. So I wouldn't recommend buying anything, Taurus, in the summertime if you can help it. From 22nd of July to the 3rd of September, just when it comes to the home, not a time to redecorate, not a time to redesign anything or move either, if you can help it, Taurus. There is going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in your sign on the 28th at 5 degrees of Taurus. So if you have anything at 5 degrees of Taurus, this is a huge change for you. This may also affect your partnerships. On the 5th of May, we have a full moon lunar eclipse in your 7th house. So there may be some changes still in 2023 for you, Taurus, coming to your relationship sector. It may be that you reconnect with someone from the past. It might be that your relationship develops, grows, or it might be that you choose to let go of a relationship or a relationship ends this year. But there is going to be some fated changes happening in your relationship sector as well, particularly around May time. It feels as though something is changing or developing in a fated way in your relationship sector, Taurus. So that is what I have for you. I hope you have a very blessed 2023, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Gemini, welcome to your 2023 horoscope. So Gemini, this year is bringing a lot of change to you when it comes to your career sector, because Saturn is moving into Pisces. Saturn is one of the slow moving planets. Saturn spends about 3 years in a sign, and Saturn has been in your 9th house since 2020. Saturn going into your 10th house means that you're likely going to be taking more accountability and responsibility when it comes to your professional life. A lot of the time we see Saturn transiting the 10th house when someone starts their first graduate job after uni, or their first full-time job after school, or there are promotions or something that is going to give you more responsibility. In your business, this can mean that you're having to work that bit extra hard. This is a time of hard work. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a time where you're going to be very focused on professional growth and development, and this might be quite slow, but it is worth it in the long run. The growth will be slow in terms of your career, but it will be based on a solid foundation. There can be tough lessons here where you haven't been putting in the work. So just know for the next 3 years professionally, you're going to be called to work very hard and really develop and grow within your career. In the same month, Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 23rd. So for you, Gemini, Pluto is moving into your 9th house. Some of you might have a deep soul calling to travel somewhere or learn something. Listen to your soul and the whispers of your soul when Pluto moves into Aquarius, because it wants to align you with what it is that you need on a soul level to feel fulfilled. And in the 9th house, this might be deciding to study something, to travel somewhere, or to move somewhere. The 9th house is also very religious and philosophical, so you might be aligning yourself with a new belief system or letting go of a belief system. Or if you're studying something that no longer resonates, you may decide with Pluto there to let it go. Jupiter is moving through Aries until the 16th of May and then will shift into Taurus. In Aries, Jupiter for you is going to make a lot of wishes come true. Jupiter going through the 11th house is one of my personal favorite transits as an astrologer, because you can actually have wishes come true, especially whenever it is impacting different parts of your chart. If you are a Gemini rising, this is likely going to trine your descendant, so this may bring in new relationships or development in your relationship life. You might also meet really happy, outgoing, fun, enjoyable friendships and social connections in the first half of the year, Gemini. In the second half of the year, the change is real because Jupiter moves into your 12th house. And this is a time where you might feel more connected or interested in the spiritual. Now, bear in mind that the North Node and Uranus are both in your 12th house, and Jupiter is going to be moving there in May. So you've had a lot going on behind the scenes. You might have been working on something behind the scenes. You might have been more interested in the supernatural, the spiritual, the faith. All these things have been very highlighted for you, Gemini. With Jupiter there, it expands your spiritual connections. You might find yourself meeting spiritual mentors, healers. You might also find yourself meeting the right therapist if you want to work on something. When Jupiter goes through the 12th house, it's a wonderful time to find a great therapist or a great healer, someone who can really enrich your life and help you and expand your awareness of your spiritual gifts or spiritual experiences, connection to the divine, but also in terms of healing. You can really find someone who helps you get to the issue and expands it so you can see it, someone who has the insights. But you may also find this year, Gemini, that your dreams are absolutely bananas, especially in October, when we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. I see you releasing something in October that has weighed heavy on you, that has maybe been quite karmic or emotional baggage. I see you releasing something in October. The North Node moves into Aries on the 17th of July. You're going to make a lot of friends this year. You're going to make new connections, new friendships, people who really resonate with you, people who really fit with you. You're going to find yourself amongst new teams of people, new groups of people, people who feel very fated, very destined. There may be some friendships suddenly come into your life that last a lifetime, people with similar values, similar belief systems, Gemini. There's a Venus retrograde from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September in your 3rd house. This can bring a bit of challenges when it comes to your relationships with your siblings and your neighbours. These can bring some hiccups, some need for revision when it comes to your relationship with your siblings and your neighbours, also friends, and also potentially with the written word. This can feel a little Mercury retrograde with you in the 3rd house. You might reconnect with siblings where there's been an estrangement, or you might reconnect with old neighbours or people that you went to primary school with or elementary school. You know, whatever it's called wherever you live, but before you were about 12, whatever your schooling system was called before then, you might reconnect with people from your childhood, Gemini, as well. We have a new moon solar eclipse in your 11th house in April, so look out for new social connections and possibly a new vision for your future being created this year, Gemini. There's a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio in May, so some of you might be deciding to leave a job or change a job in your life, or there may be something comes up surrounding your health in May as well. There's a new moon solar eclipse in Libra happening on the 14th of October. So for some of you, because the South Node is going into your 5th house, this can be a time where there are pregnancies, there can be unexpected pregnancies, there can be fated events surrounding children. There can also be fated romances coming into your life around this time. So pay attention to October for those events developing. I do feel for a lot of you, it could be a pregnancy if that is something that you want, but even if it's something you don't want, just be aware that this is a year where those type of things can happen quite unexpectedly or fatedly, Gemini. But that's what I have for you for 2023. I hope you have a beautiful year, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to your 2023 horoscope. Cancer, there's a lot of professional growth happening for you in 2023. We have Jupiter in your 10th house of career and profession until the 16th of May. So Jupiter is going to be moving through Aries until the 16th of May, and then in July the North Node is going to enter this sector as well, and we have a new moon solar eclipse on the 20th of April. There's a lot happening when it comes to your career, Cancer. You will especially notice after January 12th, when Mars stations direct, Mars rules your 10th house, you will notice you have a lot more energy and momentum to make things happen for yourself professionally. And things won't be as stagnant when it comes to your career, and things are more likely to go as planned with Jupiter going through Aries now that Mars is direct from the 12th of January. So you can notice a lot of expansion in your career, especially when Jupiter goes over your midheaven. Your midheaven as a Cancer rising is most likely in Aries. It may not be, but if it is, just know that it's going to really expand this year. You could notice that you're having more opportunities professionally, you're being better received professionally. You could notice that you have the right type of mentors and teachers come into your life to help you develop and flourish in your career. With the eclipse in April, you might be deciding, Cancer, to make a big change professionally. There could be something new coming to you that maybe awards you more independence. For some of you, there could be an opportunity arises for you, and this is something that is going to be very monumental in terms of career, but there does appear to be a new beginning happening for you professionally in April, Cancer. And when the North Node goes into Aries on the 17th, you're going to be more active in pursuing the career that you want and maybe aligning yourself with a new industry. Saturn moves into Pisces on the 7th of March. For you, Cancer, this is your 9th house, and the 9th house is very linked to higher study and higher awareness. For some of you, you might actually be dedicating yourself to a degree, or you might be dedicating yourself to learning a new language or learning about a different culture, maybe because you've moved. Some of you could be moving locations, but Saturn really wants you to grow and to develop and mature in your 9th house. For some of you, that could be that you decide you want to be a teacher, you want to be a lecturer, or if you are a teacher or a lecturer, this is going to be a time of huge development for you and maturity and stepping into a more senior position potentially when it comes to teaching. Some of you might be deciding to teach something for the first time. Some of you might be deciding that you want to take time to travel, or you might be traveling to learn, but this is going to put a huge emphasis on this area. Now, Saturn in the 9th house can also sometimes, I will not lie, dampen your faith a little bit. Saturn really wants you to be mature and wise when it comes to your spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs or philosophical or political beliefs. So you may be noticing that you're developing and growing when it comes to your relationship with your faith and what it is that you believe in, and the hill that you want to die on, so to speak. You're really maturing there, Cancer. So you might notice that you are leaning into being more of a scholar, leaning into being more wise and being more learned for the next few years. Pluto leaves your 7th house on the 23rd of March, but will re-enter there in June. But Pluto going into your 8th house, Pluto is the ruler of the 8th house in more modern astrology. Pluto co-rules the 8th house with Mars. Pluto in the 8th house is going to want you to be I feel like it wants you to conquer a fear or a phobia that has been holding you back, something psychological. It can bring a lot of awareness to psychology. So for some of you, maybe you're studying psychology. Some of you might be becoming a professor of psychology for a select few of you. But I do think you're going to be wanting to connect on a soul level to investigating something deeper. And I think it may be psychological or it might be ancestral, but you're wanting to dive deeper into something and get to the nitty gritty of it, like really understand it on a soul level. Your soul is pushing you to investigate something, Cancer, from March until June. Pay attention to what does come up because it's likely linked to a very long cycle for you. Jupiter leaves your career zone on the 16th of May and moves into Taurus, which is going to bless your 11th house. Cancer, I said this to Gemini, who have Jupiter and Aries being their 11th house. For you, it's Taurus. Jupiter going through the 11th is one of my favorite transits personally. It is a time when your wishes can come true. It's a time when a wish can be fulfilled, maybe something you've wanted for a long time. You connect with fun friends. Your social life is better. You have a lot more opportunities to connect with different people. You have a lot more opportunity to connect with new friends. Your friendship circle may expand with Jupiter moving into Taurus. As I mentioned before, the North Node moves into your 10th house in July, which is bringing fated changes to your career. By default, we have changes happening in your 4th house, and you will notice this in October. There's a new moon solar eclipse in Libra. Some of you could be moving in October. You could be getting a new home, purchasing a new home, moving in with someone, getting new roommates, moving to a new location, renovating your home. There's fated changes coming to your home and family life in October, Libra. Cancer, Cancer. Fated changes coming to your home and family life. From the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September, Venus is going to retrograde in Leo. This is your financial sector, Cancer, so this is a time where you may want to focus on getting your finances in order, revisiting your spending. It's not a summer to purchase anything big. It's not a summer to purchase anything grand because you may regret it later. You might have buyer's remorse, so you've been warned in the summer not to make any impulse purchases or big decisions when it comes to your finances. We also have the final eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus. There's a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio on the 5th of May. For some of you, Cancer, this could foretell a pregnancy or this could foretell a fated romance of some sort. We also have a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 28th of October. Some of you may be letting go of a friend or no longer resonating with a particular dream or aspiration for yourself, Cancer. Those are your messages for 2023. I hope you have a wonderful year, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi, Leo. Welcome to your forecast for 2023. So, Leo, we have the first thing I want to mention for you is what is happening in your sign. We have a Venus retrograde in your sign in the summertime. From the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September, Venus is going to retrograde in your 1st house. And this is going to be a time where I would like to forewarn you in advance. Don't change your hair. Don't change your wardrobe. Don't get a tattoo. Don't get a piercing. Don't do anything to your physical body or your appearance because you might regret it. Venus retrograde itself is a very bad time to make big changes to your style and your appearance because Venus rules aesthetics. In your 1st house, this message is amplified, okay? You're definitely going to be the center of attention though, because Venus is a benefic. So you will have Venus blessing your 1st house, which is going to make you more radiant and garner more attention from people during the summer though. This just isn't the time to make a change that you may regret later. Venus retrograde in your sign can also be a time where you want to go backwards in terms of your style. So if Venus is in your 1st house, you may have found that if you have for years been dyeing your hair, you might decide to go back to your natural hair color or your natural hair texture. You're more likely to go backwards to something and it work well rather than try something new. So for example, if you have been dyeing your hair blonde for years, you may decide to go back to your natural color if you're a brunette or something like this. If you have been cutting your hair for years, you might actually decide you just want to let it grow on its own accord. These are the type of things that might work when Venus is retrograde in your 1st house, Leo. But other than that, I really wouldn't recommend doing anything that is permanent in particular, especially tattoos. It's really not a good time. Really not a good time. But as I say, you will be in the spotlight for that little bit longer because Venus is going to be in your sign from June until October. So you are going to be in the spotlight in a big way. And in the times when Venus isn't retrograde, you're more likely to attract what it is that you want into your life, Leo. So there is a positive to this. Saturn leaves your relationship sector on the 7th of March and goes into your 8th house. So Saturn has been asking you to mature, to grow, and to develop in terms of your relationships. Perhaps you've taken more responsibility or accountability in a relationship. Perhaps you've decided to get engaged, get married. Perhaps you decided you had to leave behind a relationship because it was not a wise fit for you. Saturn moving into your 8th house, this is a time where if there is something on a psychological level or a fear or a phobia that you've been avoiding for a very long time, Leo, you're being asked to take accountability and maturity and show up to face it. Saturn going through Pisces is a time where we must face what we've been avoiding. And in the 8th house, this can be our fears and phobias. This can also be where you have to let something go and make a substantial change in your life. This can be a time where you have tough lessons when it comes to your financial relationships with other people, possibly taxes, possibly government payments. There can be some restrictions or growth here. For a lot of you, you're going to feel it very psychologically though. And this can also be addressing your relationship with change as it is and having to grow, take responsibility and accountability and mature, sometimes in a harsh way or a tough way, when it comes to letting go and when it comes to the changes that happen around us that we can't control. Embracing them in some way, taking accountability and growth. Now, Pluto, though, does move into your partnership sector on the 23rd of March and will be there until June. So if you're a Leo ascendant, your descendant is Aquarius. And if you are a Leo ascendant at about 0 degrees of Leo or 1 degree of Leo, this is going to impact your relationships in a very profound way. For others of you, you're just going to be noticing, I think, in your relationships or the type of relationships you want or the type of relationships you're hoping to have, you might notice that it has to be felt on a soul level. A lot of you could be calling in a relationship, if you're single, with someone who is a very profound soulmate. Could be someone who you have many past lives with. For others of you, you have to be careful of attracting controlling partners with Pluto being here or obsessive partners. But there's going to be a lot of intensity in your relationship life from March until June, Leo, and this can be, as I say, with soulmates. This can be in your relationship addressing issues of control or power in relationships. Power dynamics are going to be a big theme here as well. It doesn't have to be negative, please don't think it is. It can just be that you have very, deep soulful encounters, or you're thinking you want to be in relationships that resonate on a soul level rather than a practical level, for example. Although it's very good to take both into consideration. You will know that because Saturn's been in your 7th house since 2020. Jupiter is going to move through Aries until the 16th of May. You're a student of the universe until May. You're going to be having more opportunities to take long distance trips, travel, explore, learn. You might be doing a degree, you might be studying something at a higher level, you might be taking very educational courses or studying a different culture, or you could be traveling a lot to a different country in the first half of the year, Leo. In the second half of the year, Jupiter is going to move into Taurus, your 10th house. You're going to be very blessed professionally. We have Uranus there, so you've been seeking more independence in your career, possibly taking on a more rebellious tone to your career. A lot of you, as I said, way back in 2018 when Uranus went into Taurus, most Leos are going to be seeking self-employment or more personal autonomy in careers. And there's something very fated about this year for you in terms of career, because the North Node and Jupiter are going to meet. This is a time when you can have wonderful professional opportunities and expand your professional life in a huge way. And this may be, especially leaning into 2024, more personal autonomy when it comes to your career. But you're going to be blessed with your career in the second half of the year. Do note, you might be letting something go career-wise in October. The North Node leaves your career zone on the 17th of July and moves into Aries. More chances to study. I feel like for a lot of you, you're going to be doing a degree or a diploma or something that gives you more, not professional status, more educational status. And for those of you that it's not educational, it may be travel. There could be some very destined trips. Look out in April for opportunities to travel, take very destined trips, or learn something new. There's something happening in your ninth house around this time. And this is also pushing you forward, Leo, in your relationship with your faith, what it is that you believe in, your personal philosophy. These things are very destined for you in 2023. You could meet people who share your belief systems. You could have opportunities to develop your belief systems, and you could really find yourself leaning into learning something new when it comes to your faith and your belief systems. But I really do feel for a lot of you, you could be studying something this year, or pushed to study something, or pushed to teach something. Some of you may discover your destiny as a teacher in 2023, Leo, in some capacity. It doesn't have to be in a very traditional sense, but there seems to be something happening there. We have a new moon solar eclipse happening in your third house in October. There could be changes when it comes to your siblings and when it comes to your neighbors. Something fated could be happening in your neighborhood in October, or there could be a new beginning when it comes to a sibling in your life, or something that you are learning, Leo. Yes, and also look out in May time with the lunar eclipse for a move in your residency, changing where you live, changing where you reside. You might be letting go of a home, you might be moving somewhere quite different from where you are now, or you might be redecorating or changing your living situation, or your roommates may be changing in May, Leo. So that's what I have for you. I hope you have a very blessed 2023, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Virgo, welcome to your 2023 forecast. So Virgo, Saturn is moving into your relationship sector just an hour or so after a full moon in your sign. Now, Saturn moving into your relationship sector is significant because it is going to mean that you're going to take more accountability, responsibility when it comes to your relationships and your relationship choices. This may be a time that tests your commitment in current relationships. Maybe you have to step up for your spouse or your partner because something's happening in their life. Perhaps you're deciding you're going to get married. Perhaps you're deciding you're going to move in together or set up your relationship for the long term. If you're in a relationship that is not mature, it's not based on good decisions, this relationship may end at this time. Those of you that are single may experience karmic relationships where there's an important lesson that you need to learn about relationships during this time, but you may also find yourself settling into a relationship that is more long-term and potentially someone that you could marry or have something quite committed with. So this is going to put a big theme on your relationships, Virgo, for the next 3 years. The significance of it happening after a full moon in your sign is because the full moon in your sign is highlighting your first house, seventh house axis. So you may be getting these intuitive downloads as to what would suit you in a relationship when Saturn moves into Pisces. Pluto is going to move into Aquarius on the 23rd of March, and Pluto going into your 6th house means that when it comes to the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or when it comes to your routine and what you do with your day, it is important to have something that is good for you on a psychological level, because you are doing these things frequently. So if you're in a job where you feel bullied or you feel controlled, or there's a really unhealthy power dynamic or manipulation coming from maybe your colleagues or your employees or something like that, there is likely to be some kind of change that you're wanting to make to look after your well-being better. And this may be because of the last 3 years with Saturn in Aquarius. You might have been experiencing a lot of tough lessons when it comes to your work and your day-to-day life, as well as your health. You could have been having restrictions there. You could have had to have shown a lot of maturity, and you may realize based on that wisdom and those lessons that with Pluto going in there, that you would actually like to make a change and maybe work somewhere else, or maybe be doing something completely different with your lifestyle, perhaps a different diet, a different exercise regimen, or something like that. It feels like significant change with it being Pluto. Jupiter is going to be in Aries until the 16th of May. Now, Jupiter in Aries for you is expanding your 8th house, which means that you might find a lot of joy and expansion in confidence in areas such as psychology or the occult, the mystical world. You might find a lot of expansive energy there, and also in your most intimate relationships. This could be a time as well when you come into some money from an outside source. It can be an inheritance, of course, with the 8th house, but it can also be government back payments for something, tax rebates or something like that, with Jupiter being there. If you see a therapist or an occult practitioner, maybe an astrologer, or maybe a tarot reader, if you see anybody in those areas, it's likely to be very positive for you in terms of an experience. So for you, you might want to seek out an astrologer or tarot reader if you're interested in that before May, because with Jupiter there, you're likely to have better experiences. When Jupiter moves into Taurus, it is going to expand your 9th house of travel and higher education. A lot of you might find yourself getting a degree during this time, or embarking on some course of study that is higher education. This might be a time where you expand your mindset, your belief system. You may find yourself traveling to different countries quite frequently, or traveling to different locations, particularly spiritual locations, Virgo, in 2023. The North Node moves into Aries on the 17th of July, leaving Taurus. In terms of destined encounters, you might notice, particularly in April, when the North Node moves into Aries, that there is some sort of new beginning when it comes to your 8th house. So perhaps you are embarking on the study of astrology, or you're going to learn astrology or become an astrologer or a psychologist, or you're going to study psychotherapy, or you're working through a fear, overcoming a phobia or something in April. It feels like there's some sort of new beginning linked to overcoming something, overcoming a challenge or a fear. With the North Node going into Aries in general in the second half of the year, I feel like it is a very significant time for you, Virgo, in conquering fears and embracing change, embracing necessary change, and maybe implementing new psychological tools to help you with your destiny, whether that is that you're trying hypnotherapy to get over a phobia and it's going to get you on a plane to take a trip. Whatever it is, Virgo, it feels like you're really conquering fears this year, one at a time. We have a Venus retrograde from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. And this Venus retrograde for you, Virgo, is happening in your 12th house. When there's a Venus retrograde in your 12th house, you may hear from a lot of people from the past in different areas. It doesn't necessarily have to be an ex. It can be someone who's at a very far distance from you, geographically speaking. This may also be a summer where you take a lot of foreign trips to very different and possibly very far away locations. This can be a time where you are also healing from relationship wounds and patterns of the past. You might finally start to figure out why you keep dating that person in a different body, or why you can't let go of somebody, or why the same argument keeps coming up in a relationship. But it seems to me, Virgo, that you're getting to the bottom of something that is affecting you in your relationships. That might also be to do with your finances, or it might also be to do with your mindset, but you are getting to the bottom of something. There's a lot this year, Virgo, that points to you getting to grips with topics like psychology or healing or therapy, and really using these tools and this knowledge and this awareness to better yourself and your experience in life. I see a lot of adventure for you in 2023, and I also see you choosing to engage in relationships that are longer lasting, or making relationships more committed this year. There is a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio in May. And with this particular full moon, Virgo, there might be changes coming up surrounding a sibling or a neighbor, or your neighborhood, your communities in general. There could be changes there. There's a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 28th of October. So in October, there is potentially for you, Virgo, some kind of trip or voyage coming up, or perhaps you're wrapping up some sort of cycle of learning, or the learning that you've been doing comes full circle and you get a degree or a diploma or something like this. There's a new moon solar eclipse coming for you on the 14th of October. So with the South Node going through your second house, Virgo, you can bet that you'll also be making some financial changes. There may be a new way of making money coming up for you in October, or your income may be changing in some way, Virgo. That's what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful 2023, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Libra, welcome to 2023. So for you Libra, we have a lot of changes going on for everyone, but one of the main things happening for you Libra is that the South Node is going to enter your sign in July. So when you have the South Node going through your first house or touching your personal placements, there's going to be some sort of fated changes. Sometimes with the South Node, we notice that it dissolves parts of ourselves when it's hitting our personal placements. When the South Node is going through the first house, there is a lot of letting go to be done. And the way that I see the South Node, the way that I see the South Node Libra is that it's not about letting go of who you are in place of something new. It's more about remembering who you are, letting go of the facade, letting go of the masks that we put on ourselves, and really understanding at our core who we are. So with the South Node going into your first house in July, from the 17th of July onward, you might be shifting into better self-awareness. You might be working through some fears, some things that have held you back, some blocks to happiness. You might also be letting go of some masks or facades you put on. And sometimes with the South Node going through the first house, we can actually encounter diagnoses of some kind. Perhaps you're realizing that you have something that you didn't realize. And I don't mean that in a scary sense, but it can be a time when someone, for example, finds out that they're neurodivergent, or they have they have an anxiety disorder and they didn't realize. Things like this can crop up with South Node transits to the personal placements. It can also be a time that reconnects us with the past. So you might find yourself remembering certain things about life that you'd forgotten and seeing how much they've affected you. It can also be that you connect with your past in some way, maybe through a person, maybe through a trip, maybe through an experience, maybe through something that is quite healing. You might actually connect with your past lives with South Node transits. And the South Node transits, funny enough, can also make you very psychic or bring you more psychic experiences. It might be a time when you connect with a healer, or you connect with a lot of people from your past lives, and you maybe have past life regressions, or you have some sort of healing that might have seemed very wacky or out there to you a year ago. Libra is what I'm sort of seeing for you. There is a reconnection with your soul and yourself with the South Node. But it can sometimes bring about painful processes of letting go of the things you'd built, the walls you built around you to keep yourself safe. So you might notice at this time that you can feel really quite psychologically triggered at points by South Node transits. One thing that I want you to pay particular attention to, Libra, is 14th of October. There's a new moon solar eclipse in your sign. And if you have anything at 21 degrees of Libra in particular, you might notice that there is a new beginning happening for you here. And this could be a new way of presenting yourself. This could be a new way of styling yourself. Your image may change, your hair, your makeup, your clothing, your aesthetic. It might also be a new desire is arising for you at this time that's more in connection with your soul and what it is that you truly want. So starting from March, the 7th of March, Saturn moves into Pisces. Okay, so Saturn's leaving your 5th house. You're ready to have a bit more fun this year, Libra. Promise. Saturn going into Pisces for you is going to bring a lot of discipline, a lot of maturity and responsibility when it comes to your work. You might be working quite a lot in the next 3 years, Libra, but it's worth noting, with it being the sign of Pisces, if you're using your work simply to escape something within or as a form of escapism. With Saturn being in your 6th house, you might have more responsibility. You could get promoted in the positive sense, or it could be that you're maybe feeling a bit restricted at work. Maybe things aren't working out the way that you wanted them to, and you have to work that little bit harder to get results. Saturn can do that, but Saturn doesn't deny it delays. So it might be that you're working very hard for a while and you're feeling no growth at all. And by the end of it, you actually look back and think, I've climbed a mountain here. So expect a lot of hard work in your career over the next, in the work that you do day to day over the next few years. Saturn in the 6th house can also be a time where you take your health more seriously. If you're not taking it seriously now, I would advise you to get a head start and focus more on eating well, exercising, doing very simple things for your body. I'm not talking about having a specific fitness goal or something like that, but doing things that are good for your health and your well-being rather than punishing your body to get certain results. It's a really good time to figure out if you maybe have an allergy that you didn't realize. You might be gluten intolerant, or you might be dairy intolerant, or something like that may crop up over the next 3 years, Libra. On the 23rd of March, Pluto moves into Aquarius. So Pluto is moving into your 5th house. Have to say, if you have any placements at 0 degrees, 1 degree of Aquarius in the 5th house, Libra, there could be a pregnancy in your life, and it could be a, because Pluto's big change, and in the 5th house it could be a pregnancy. It could also be a romance comes into your life that's very intense or very passionate, or has some sort of psychological element to you that really piques your awareness, or jolts your system. Watch out for dating people who are controlling or possessive with Pluto there, but it can just as equally transpire as you date people that you're very passionate about, or you might be trying to inject more passion into your life and your relationships. Pluto going through the 5th can be very emotionally obsessive about having fun and having pleasure in your life, and it's only going to be there until June before it goes back into Capricorn, and then next year we'll do the full cycle, which is going to last quite a long time. So do pace yourself. You could take things to excess between March and June in terms of having fun and pleasurable activities in your life, Libra. Jupiter is going to be in Aries until the 16th of May. And then we also have the North Node moving into Aries on the 17th of July. So Jupiter going through Aries is going to expand your relationships. So this can be, for those of you that are single, you can meet somebody. If you're in a relationship, you can expand or build upon the relationship. Sorry, Libra, I got cut off and I have no idea why, but I did. It's because Mercury's going retrograde tomorrow. But Libra, Jupiter going through your partnership sector is going to expand your relationship. So as I say, if you're single, you could meet somebody. If you're in a relationship, you might decide that you want to get married. Things might move quite quickly in a relationship. You might be having a really good time. This might also be a time where you decide to leave a relationship because it is not making you happy. And if that's the case, it's likely that it's going to be something that is better for you in the long run, especially in the second half of the year, because the North Node is going to go into your partnership sector. So there might be opportunities for relationships coming into your life, Libra. In fact, this year is huge for relationships with you as a Libra ascendant, because we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries on the 20th of April at 29 degrees. There could be a new relationship enters your life out of the blue. As I say, some of you might decide that you're no longer happy in a relationship and you want to leave, because transits to the 7th house can bring relationships, they can develop relationships, and they can end relationships. It does depend on your chart. But with that new moon solar eclipse, it could be a time potentially for you to meet somebody new or to take some sort of affirmative action in your relationships. When the North Node moves into this sector on the 17th, partnerships are taking a huge focus in your life. So they're going to be a big theme for you this year, regardless of what status you have or whereabouts you are in relationships. Because even if you're single, it's likely that you're dating somebody or someone comes in, or that you're really focusing on what it is that you want from relationships as a bigger part of your destiny. So there is a huge focus for you, Libra, on relationships in general. When Jupiter moves into Taurus, your 8th house, from the 16th of May, Jupiter is going to expand your 8th house in a way that may feel like you might want to conquer a fear of some kind. You might want to expand your the relationships that you've perhaps entered in the first half of the year. You might want to expand them intimately, get to know each other better, form deeper connections, form more committed connections. But the 8th house is also psychology and it's astrology. It's deeper explorations. So with Jupiter there, you might be more curious. You might have something you really want to investigate, to dive into. You could find a new passion in your life that is maybe a bit macabre or a bit dark or occult in nature. This can also be a wonderful time for having experiences in the occult, like getting an astrology reading or a tarot reading or something like that with Jupiter being there. You might find yourself just more excited about these type of things, or you might find them more expansive and your knowledge of these topics may expand in a big way. This can also be a time, as I say, when you're conquering a fear or you're feeling more optimistic about fears. This can also be a time where you come into some money from the government or some sort of inheritance, or money that is not yours may enter your hands in the second half of the year, Libra. There is an eclipse on the 28th, a full moon lunar eclipse in your 8th house, which may be a time where you notice something shifts financially. Perhaps money that is not yours is coming towards you, or perhaps you are going to have some sort of psychological epiphany around this time, Libra. We have a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio on the 5th of May. So I do feel like you guys might be, with this full moon lunar eclipse, you might be having some sort of financial change happening for you, Libra. There could be a new source of income, or you could be letting go of a source of income. You could be paying for something, or you could be coming into money. It really just seems like your money is highlighted in a big way with that eclipse in May time. There is also a Venus retrograde cycle from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. So with Venus being your ruler, and the retrograde cycle happening for you in your 11th house, you might find yourself reflecting on your old ambitions, what you wanted for the future, your old aspirations. You might reconnect with old friends. You might have some misunderstandings with friends, maybe letting go of friends, but your social groups, the people that you have as friends, are likely to change during this retrograde cycle. And it might also be that if you meet a friend during this time, don't count on them being long term, because Venus retrogrades in the 11th house can bring about friendships that are actually very short-lived and maybe serve a purpose for that particular time, but don't necessarily go the distance. Although you may reconnect with friends from the past, and you might also reconnect with an old dream or an old ambition of yours, Libra. But there's a lot happening for you, especially with the South Node going into your sign in the second half of the year, and that eclipse in your sign on the 21st of October. I feel, Libra, like you may be 14th of October, on the 14th of October, you seem to be stepping into a new identity and letting go of an old one, or letting go of a mask or a facade, and really reconnecting with who you truly are and your essence. So this is a huge year for you, Libra. A lot of changes coming to your relationships, and a lot of changes coming to you personally. But certainly a huge focus on relationships and deepening them or expanding them in 2023. That's what I have for you, Libra, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Rising, and welcome to 2023. So Scorpio, I bet you're glad that Saturn is leaving Aquarius, because it will no longer be affecting your fixed sign placements in 2023. And in fact, in Saturn, it is going to be bringing trine harmonious energies to your Scorpio placements as a fellow water sign. So let's start there. Saturn moves into Pisces on the 7th of March. Where Saturn goes, responsibility is called upon for you. So this is happening in your sector that rules children. So perhaps for some of you, you're becoming a parent for the first time and you're having to take on responsibility, or you're taking on more responsibility with your children. Maybe for some of you, you're deciding you want to educate your kids at home, and that's taking a lot more responsibility. Perhaps for some of you that are trying to conceive, this may be a period where there is slow growth. Saturn can sometimes delay and restrict until we are ready in Saturn's eyes to take on those kind of responsibility. Saturn kind of makes us work. So if you're trying to conceive in the next 3 years, it might take a little longer than you'd hoped. Or there might be delays or frustrations when it comes to your children in some regard. This can also be the sector associated with love. So I feel like for a lot of you, you might be taking love and romance more seriously. You might have a different caliber of what you want to date if you're single. And if you're in a relationship, sometimes you might be finding that there is a little bit of restriction when it comes to just having fun with your partner, or just having fun in general, because you might be trying to be very responsible. You might just be feeling like you can't let loose and open up for some reason. Scorpio, with Saturn being in the 5th house, sometimes Saturn can make us in the 5th house want to work rather than play. And it's important to remember that with Saturn in the 5th, you can also work through your relationship with your inner child. So a lot of you could be doing some inner child work in the next 3 years as well, Scorpio. But certainly if you have any Scorpio placements at 0 to 7 degrees of Pisces or a Scorpio, you might notice that there's some harmonious energy coming in from Saturn and some sort of benefit. Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 23rd. So Pluto is moving into your 4th house, Scorpio, and it's only going to be there until June. But if you have anything at 0 degrees of the fixed signs, this is going to impact you. Pluto in your 4th house is an interesting one, because you might realize that there is some sort of unhealthy dynamic going on within your family. There might be a power struggle of some sort that needs to be addressed. There might be some sort of psychological issue as well from the past linked to home and family that you really want to deal with, Scorpio. When it comes to your living situation, you're really looking for something that feels good at a soul level. So you will not be able to ignore the psyche around this time. You might notice some psychological impulses or itches that you need to scratch at this time. So this might be a time, Scorpio, where you seek a therapist. And it's very likely with Saturn as well, if you're doing any kind of therapy work, it's linked to your inner child and you're very far away past. With Jupiter going through Aries from the beginning of the year to the 16th of May, there's a lot of benefits and expansion when it comes to your work life with what you do for your job and how you spend your day. This is also a wonderful period to get some kind of benefit from fitness, from physical activity, from eating well, from your diet. You could accomplish a lot of health and fitness goals at this time, Scorpio, and you might notice you're just more energized for things like the gym or running or working out or doing a physical activity of any kind that makes you feel good. You might also decide that you want to really expand your diet and your routine. Maybe you want to incorporate a little bit more learning into your routine. Perhaps you're deciding you want to read a book every single day, or well, every week. You want to read a book every week, or you want to incorporate more learning into your day, listen to more podcasts, watch more documentaries, that sort of thing, Scorpio, because Jupiter in the 6th house is about expansion in your day-to-day life, and with it being Jupiter, it may be in terms of knowledge. It seems to me that you really want to pack your day and your routine full of things that make you feel alive, things that make you feel hopeful and optimistic. So you're more likely than not, Scorpio, listening to a podcast on your way to work that is going to give you a positive mental attitude or something like this. Jupiter moves into your relationship sector on the 16th of May, which brings a lot of benefits to your relationships. It's going to go from 0 degrees to 15 degrees of Taurus in 2023. So with this cycle, Scorpio, you may find that in your relationships, you're expanding them in some way. There is perhaps going to be more joy in your relationships, more fun in your relationships. This could be a time, if you're single, where you meet somebody. This could be a time where you want to get engaged, get married, or you just find there's a lot of joy coming within your relationship life. If you're in a relationship that's unhappy, sometimes Jupiter can expand that to the point you leave, but if you do, it's generally for the best with Jupiter. The North Node is going to be going through your partnership sector until the 17th. And then there's going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in your partnership sector on the 28th. So it feels like your relationships are really taking a huge spotlight this year, Scorpio, especially because Uranus is already there. But whatever your relationship status, just know there's going to be some kind of change. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a divorce. Doesn't mean that. But it can mean that your relationship shifts or changes in some way. Perhaps your partner takes a new job that lets them work from home so you see them more, or something like that. It can be quite simple, but there is change coming to your relationship life. So if you're single, better chance than most of meeting somebody. And if you're in a relationship, you may expand it or you might decide to leave it. It will depend on your individual birth chart and your individual circumstances. We have a full moon lunar eclipse in your sign on the 5th of May. So Scorpio, if you've anything at 14 degrees of Scorpio in particular, this impacts you directly. I think a lot of you are shifting into a new way of living your life that works better for you. That's been a big theme over the last couple of years. You have been letting go of the masks, the facades, the things that you've kept up to protect you. And you're slipping into your more authentic skin, Scorpio, and remembering who you are at your core. And this full moon is kind of an echo of that. It is a lunar eclipse, which means you might be finally letting go of the last remaining brick on the wall that you've built around yourself and feeling very empowered to step into a new change. You could be changing something about yourself or your appearance around this time as well, changing your hair, changing your lifestyle, and doing something for you, but it's also impacting your relationship. So it might be your relationship status is changing around this time. Similarly, your relationship status might change around the 20th of October, Scorpio. The new moon solar eclipse in Aries on the 20th of April, as well as the North Node moving into Aries from the 17th of July. This is putting a huge focus on your health and your well-being. That's going to take a lot of your attention over the next couple of years, Scorpio. It's where you're going to see a lot of growth, where you're going to take new directions. Some of you might decide to get more into fitness, more into lifestyle, more into well-being, taking care of your physical body and your mental mind, your mentality as well. Your mental health is where I'm trying to go with this. There's a lot of changes in direction happening there for you. And for some of you as well, Scorpio, this can be a new job. You might be changing employment around April. There could be a new job coming into your life, a new opportunity. This could be quite fated. This could be quite destined. Not necessarily everyone's going to understand it for you, but it will make sense to you. There is a new moon solar eclipse happening in your 12th house on the 14th of October. You're letting something go to embrace a new cycle when it comes to your mental health and well-being. If there's something that needs to be worked through with the South Node going through your 12th house, you're going to be letting go of a lot of emotional baggage. And this new moon might present some kind of way, like a tool or a person that's going to help you do that. There's a new beginning when it comes to your relationship with your mental health in October. And this might be through a healer, this might be through a mentor. There's a Venus retrograde happening in the sign of Leo, 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. And for you, Scorpio, this is your 10th house of career. So over the summer, you might be taking a step back from your career and reevaluating what it is that you want to be doing or how you feel about your career or the direction that it's going. This is not necessarily the time to start a new job. It's not necessarily the time to suddenly put yourself out there having never done it before, because Venus retrograde means you might not show up as well as you ordinarily would. But nevertheless, Venus is going to be there for quite a while. So you might notice yourself in the spotlight more so, Scorpio. And being in the spotlight more gives more opportunities to slip up. So there may be some errors, but there may also be more spotlight on you, and you may grow your presence in whatever career or profession you have. This is not a time to invest in a new work wardrobe or changing up your workspace or something like that, because Venus retrograde can lead to regrets where we change something aesthetically. So if you're thinking of doing up your home office, don't do it in the summer with Venus retrograde in Leo. This can also be a time when you reconnect with people from the past or run into that old toxic boss that you really don't like. So be mindful of that, Scorpio. You might run into people that you used to work with. You might reconnect with people you used to work with. And with this particular Venus retrograde, it is going to be squaring your relationship sectors. So there might be some issues between the work that you're doing and a business partnership or your current relationship. Perhaps with Venus retrograde, you're really throwing yourself into your work and someone may feel neglected. So bear that in mind over the summer as well, Scorpio. So that is what I have for you, Scorpio. 2023 looks like a big year when it comes to your relationships. It looks like more responsibility when it comes to your children if you have them. It looks like more maturity when it comes to dating, and it looks like you're working through something psychologically when it comes to home and family. But for the most part, there's a huge focus on your relationships and also a focus on a new direction when it comes to what you're doing with your day-to-day life. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So Sagittarius, welcome to 2023. Sagittarius, on the 7th of March, Saturn is moving into Pisces. And Saturn is going to be there for at least 3 years. So Saturn going into your sector of home and family means that you're going to be taking a lot more responsibility when it comes to your family. This might be through being a parent. This might be through caring for a parent. This might be through perhaps you're deciding you want to work from home full time, or you're going to be working from home more for whatever reason. It feels like you may at times feel a little bit suffocated by your living environment with Saturn being here. So make sure that you have ways of coping with feeling cooped up in your home for whatever reason that might be. There might be some challenges when it comes to home and family because Saturn can bring about karmic lessons, and Saturn can also lead to slow growth. So if you're planning to move home, this might delay it slightly, or there might be some renovations that require extra time or something like that. It feels like there's a lot of responsibility when it comes to home and family, but there can also be delays and restrictions in this area too. With Pluto moving into Aquarius on the 23rd, you're going to be noticing if there's any unhealthy dynamics or power struggles when it comes to either your siblings or your neighbors or perhaps your friends. And also in communication, maybe someone you're communicating with on a regular basis. You might notice if there's an unhealthy power dynamic here that needs to be addressed. This will sort of be a preview of what's going to come and what's going to be addressed later on, Sagittarius, because Pluto does leave Aquarius in June and go back into Capricorn, giving you a little bit more insight into your relationship with your finances. But you may have some very intense conversations between March and June that might be quite that might lead to revelations for you in terms of where certain dynamics are on a psychological level. Maybe there's a power imbalance with a sibling, or you feel a bit controlled by a sibling, or you feel a little bit like something's gone toxic that needs to be resolved. Jupiter is going to be going through your 5th house until the 16th of May, and the North Node is going to be there from the 17th. For a lot of you, this could be related to pregnancy. Jupiter going through the 5th house can lead to a pregnancy for you. If it's not that, it can lead to a lot of joy with your children. It can also lead to a lot of romance in your life. You can meet someone who is quite a catch with Jupiter going through the 5th house. This can also be very expansive for you creatively if you're in a creative profession. And then when the North Node goes there from the 17th of July, you might notice that there is something quite destined happening for you. You might be destined to become a parent for the first time. You might be destined to meet someone you fall in love with. You might be destined to release something creatively to the world or take up a creative hobby in your life, Sagittarius, but that's where your destiny is. I have noticed repeatedly that when the North Node goes through the 5th house, people just seem to expand their family, with it being the 5th house and the 5th house being children. But it can just as easily be that you have a creative pursuit that you want to embrace and you want to put out there into the world, and it can also rule falling in love with somebody that's quite destined to be in your life. Jupiter moves into your 6th house from the 16th of May, and Jupiter going into the 6th house is going to bless your working life, so the work that you do on a regular basis. It can also be very blessed for your health and your well-being. You might find yourself taking better care of your body, exercising more, your routine might improve, and you might be incorporating more joy into your routine, Sagittarius. The new moon solar eclipse on the 20th of April seems to be a very substantial new beginning when it comes to your 5th house. So this can be love, it can be children, it can be creativity, it can just be fun in general. So there seems to be something, Sagittarius, coming new to you from April in this particular area, or news in these areas. There's a full moon lunar eclipse in your 12th house on the 5th of May. You seem to be letting go of something quite substantial in May, something that you need to release, something that no longer serves you. On the 14th of October, there is a new moon solar eclipse in Libra, which is your 11th house. I think a lot of you could be meeting some significant new friends or social connections in October. Some people who are destined to be in your life, some people who might be friends from past lives, and people who just feel like they fit. Or you might be achieving some sort of aspiration that you've long waited to achieve in your life, Sagittarius. From the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September, Venus is retrograde in Leo. For you, this is your 9th house. So the summer is not great for traveling because there can be mess ups with Venus being retrograde there. Although because Venus is in your 9th house for such a long time, it's likely that some point between June and October, you're going to take a significant trip. Venus is a benefic, but in retrograde, it might just be that the hotel that you want to stay in isn't as nice as you thought. It might be that the area isn't as nice as you thought. This can also be where you have to do a bit of reflection in terms of study if you're studying, or you might have something you need to retake if you're studying. If you want a clue of what this could be, look back to 2015, the summertime then, because there was a Venus retrograde in Leo. 20th of October, there's a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, your 6th house. Some of you might decide to leave a job at the end of October, Sagittarius, or some of you might... Sorry, Sagittarius, I got cut off, but that'll teach me to film 24 hours before a Mercury retrograde. But the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is going to be some sort of change in your work status. Perhaps you're leaving behind a job, perhaps you have people within your work suddenly leaving, perhaps there's a big shift in staff or employees, or perhaps you're giving up something to do with your health. So maybe you're changing your diet, maybe you're changing the exercise that you do, maybe you're leaving your gym. Anything like this that is happening in your 6th house is likely something that you're going to be releasing around this time. This might be something that you've been thinking about releasing for a while because you're taking new directions, and October is the time to finish off something within the 6th house, be it work related or be it health related, something in your routine is changing in October. But that is what I have for you for 2023, Sagittarius. I hope you have a wonderful year, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Capricorn, welcome to your 2023 horoscope. So Capricorn, your ruler Saturn is leaving Aquarius and moving into Pisces on March the 7th. Saturn moving into Pisces means you're going to be taking more responsibility and accountability, and you're going to be encouraging more dedication and wisdom in yourself when it comes to areas such as siblings, neighbors, and also your communication style and learning. This might be a time where for some reason you need to step up for a sibling or within a relationship with a sibling and take a point of maturity. You might be called to help a sibling at this time. You might also dedicate yourself more to a sibling or deepen your relationship with a sibling. With Saturn here, you might be more committed to your relationship with your siblings, perhaps taking on something together like a business, or perhaps taking on some sort of project together with Saturn that requires you to show up for a sibling. Or it might be that they're going through something in their life and you're being called to show up for them in some way, shape, or form. This can also be a time where you are going to commit yourself to learning when it comes to communication. Perhaps you're going to be taking a course in communicating effectively. You're going to be learning more. You're probably going to read a lot of books. Some of them might be quite heavy in tone. It might take you a long time to finish them or read them because Saturn gives this slow moving energy. It's very slow growth. But it does lead to a lot of personal and professional growth for you the more that you dedicate yourself to learning and expanding in some way your mindset by increased dedication to learning. This is a time when you're likely going to be taking some sort of short course, learning a language, or spending a lot of your free time working on something that is good for your mind. This might also be a time where you start working more on your mental health, Capricorn. Perhaps you're deciding you want to start seeing someone like a therapist maybe, or a coach of some kind that can really help you work through your mindset. You might start seeing a life coach at this time period because Saturn's very dedicated and Saturn's very disciplined, and the third house is to do with our mental well-being. This can be a time when you really want to get your mindset right, and with Saturn it's about learning and dedicating yourself to something. So maybe you're getting a coach, maybe you're getting a teacher or a mentor or something that's going to help you work in your mindset, Capricorn, for the next few years. Pluto leaves your sign. Only for a few months, but this is big. Pluto's been in your sign since 2008, and now Pluto is moving into Aquarius. This is huge for you. You're going to feel this. You're physically going to feel this. You're going to be like, you're going to breathe, Capricorn, because this has been quite heavy for you, especially in the last few years. We had Saturn there, the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the eclipses in your sign. We've had so much going on for you, particularly Pluto, because Pluto's been there for such a long time. And between March and June, you're going to feel this like release of some kind. It's almost as if you're not as focused on yourself in a negative way. And I don't mean that in the sense of like ego or anything like this, but Pluto being in your first house can make you hyper fixate on yourself in a way that I constantly have to be growing, I constantly have to be developing, I constantly have to be changing, I'm so aware of what's going on in my psyche, I'm so obsessed with psychology and who I am and all this sort of stuff, and it can be very intense. And now that Pluto is moving into Aquarius, this can be a time where you're thinking, ooh, there's a little bit of energy off me here that was quite heavy. Pluto will move back into Capricorn in June though, but this is the last hurrah. This is you wrapping up some stuff when it comes to your psyche, your psychological nature, your relationship with yourself. Anything that you're obsessive over is going to be something that is finally worked through this year, Capricorn. With Pluto going into Aquarius, your second house, this is where you start to notice the psychological link between what's embedded in your psyche and your finances, how you spend your money, your relationship with money, and also your self-worth. If there's some sort of issue there psychologically when it comes to spending, this is a time where you might start to get an inkling of what that is and how you're going to address it for the future, Capricorn. Jupiter is going to be in Aries until the 16th of May. This is going to expand your home and your family. So this is going to bring better energy to your relationships with your family, with the people that you live with your home and living situation. A lot of you could move in the first half of the year, but also there's a lot happening there in the second too. I think your living situation is very likely to change this year, Capricorn, especially if you're a Capricorn rising. Because with Jupiter being there, there's this expansive energy. And maybe for some of you, this is actually expanding your home, renovating, decorating, expanding your property, adding on to your property. But this is going to be a big year for you when it comes to home and family. Maybe for some of you, you're expanding your family in the first half of the year as well. Look to April as a key date for this. 20th of April, there's a new moon solar eclipse happening in your 4th house. This could indicate a new living situation, a change in your living situation, a change in who you live with, and perhaps a change in a property matter. Perhaps a new property is coming up around that time. You're going to move, you're going to move in, you're going to move out. Anything goes. The North Node moves into this sector from the 17th of July. A big focus for you is where you're living over the next couple of years, Capricorn. You might find your dream home, you might find yourself moving suddenly, it could be quite destined, but your living situation as you know it will change, and the people that you live with may change. And I think for a lot of you, this is a new direction where you're like, I want to live here, I want to move here, I want to have my house like this. Because in Aries, you're kind of showing this like personal autonomy. So this can be you buy your first house, you get your first rental, anything like this, Capricorn. There's a new direction coming to you when it comes to home and family. And perhaps for some of you with Jupiter there, you're having better relationships with your family. In the first half of the year, you get to enjoy this. The second half of the year, so 16th of May, Jupiter moves into Taurus. And this is your 5th house. So for a lot of you, this could be pregnancy, this could be new love, this could be a lot of joy coming into your life with Jupiter going through the 5th house. You could be really enjoying your children, you could be enjoying a new baby, you could be enjoying a new romantic prospect. Maybe you meet somebody and you strike up a conversation and you're dating them and it's very lovey-dovey and it's very romantic. This could be a time where you are going to be more creative than usual. This is bringing a lot of joy to your life in general, Capricorn, with Jupiter going through the 5th house. A lot of joy and fun energy in the second half of the year. And there is also a full moon lunar eclipse in your 5th house on the 28th of October, which could again indicate news for you of a pregnancy, but could also be some sort of change when it comes to dating, when it comes to romance, or when it comes to your creative endeavor. It might also be linked to gambling or your hobbies. You could also take up a new hobby this year, Capricorn, that you actually fall in love with, especially in the second half of the year. But there's also for you a full moon lunar eclipse happening on the 5th of May. So the nodes are shifting, the south node is going to move out of your 11th house. But with this particular eclipse in May, I kind of feel like you might be distancing yourself from a group of friends or a social group or a friend in particular. You might be moving away from them. You might be letting them go. You might be letting it dissolve just naturally. Or this could be something that actually happens, Capricorn, that you say, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not my soul tribe, basically. We also have on the 14th of October a new moon solar eclipse happening in your 10th house. So South Node going through your 10th house, you might be leaving behind a career or an industry in particular. So say, for example, you work in the legal field, you might leave it behind and move into finance or something like this. This new moon solar eclipse might indicate a new job or a new pathway for you in terms of your career, Capricorn. This would be an interesting time in October to see if you are changing professions or something comes up for you that is a new avenue professionally. With the South Node, this could be something you've maybe done in a past life and a talent and a skill that you didn't know you had. In fact, Capricorn, this year in general, I feel like you are tapping into skills and talents you didn't know that you had, and they may in some way shape your next chapter. There's a Venus retrograde happening in Leo from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. And for you, Capricorn, Leo is your 8th house, so you might be revisiting and reflecting upon your intimate relationships and how you feel about intimacy. This can also be a very psychological time in terms of relationships. You might notice patterns, you might notice your triggers, you might notice your shadow aspects in your relationship life and how you want to address them and work through them, because you could be very reflective upon these issues and really notice where there's certain things that might pop up for you, Capricorn, that don't necessarily work out so well. You know, if you feel like there's something someone could say, and anytime they say it, it's like you relive something in your head and it's not actually to do with what's going on at the time. That's the 8th house activity. So with Venus retrograde there, perhaps you are realizing some triggers and some psychological stuff that you need to address so that it doesn't impact your relationships particularly your career, because Venus rules your career as well. You might be reflecting on some psychological stuff or really getting to the depths of what that is in the summertime, Capricorn. So that is what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful 2023, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Rising. Aquarius, you're one of the main players this year, and you're going to be relieved in a big way because Saturn is finally leaving your sign in March. It's been rough if you've had Aquarius in your top 3 placements. As an Aquarius moon, I had Saturn on my moon all year, and I want to say without a shadow of a doubt, worst transit ever. I mean, really. So if you're an Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Rising and you have found it incredibly tough with Saturn being there, I sympathize, I empathize. March is coming. In March, Saturn is going to move out of your sign into Pisces. And you're going to notice this because you're not going to feel so hard on yourself. You're not going to feel so, I need to do this and I should be here by now and I should be doing this and I should have done that and I made this mistake and I faltered here. You've grown a lot from Saturn being in your sign. You've grown a lot, substantially. You've matured, you've developed, you've grown, you've taken accountability, you've taken responsibility, and that is incredibly important because this can teach you what you need and give you the tools that you need for the next chapter of your life where you can take more accountability. Now, with Saturn moving into Pisces, this is going to be your financial sector. Saturn going through the second house is a time where you have to get really mature when it comes to your finances. This is a time when you have to be very grown up about your financial affairs. It might take longer to save money or build money in your life with Saturn being there because Saturn is trying to teach you discipline and responsibility. Sometimes it can feel like money's not coming in quick enough. Sometimes it can feel like pay rises are very small. It can feel as though money's harder to come by. And sometimes as well, this can be where you need to take maturity and work through your confidence issues or your self-esteem issues with Saturn moving through Pisces. But Saturn does teach us important lessons that we need to know, and discipline is a great one for building your finances in the long run, Aquarius. Now, from the 23rd of March, Pluto is moving into your sign. So if you're an Aquarius with placements at around 0 degrees, 1 degree of Aquarius, you're probably going to feel this. Pluto moving into your first house is about transforming into who you truly are, because Pluto in the first house is about who you are at your core, your soul, what your soul craves, what your soul needs, how authentic you're being to yourself. And as an Aquarius, you crave individuality to a significant extent and being true to yourself. With Pluto here, you might notice where your relationship with yourself has been a bit toxic or a bit controlling. Yes, you can have that dynamic with yourself. So this might be a time when you start to realize, hey, there's sort of a weird psychological itch I need to scratch here. What is this about myself that I'm running into trouble with, what I'm running into problems with? This might also make you more psychic with Pluto going through here, but you're going to feel like you want to, especially with Saturn moving out of your sign, I think you're going to want to reinvent yourself a little bit between March and June. It's like you're saying, I want to transform into the real me. And you might notice other Aquarians in your life or yourself, you're suddenly dressing very differently. Maybe you're dressing in a way that doesn't make any sense to your environment, or maybe you're suddenly listening to the type of music that other people are like, what are you doing? This doesn't seem right, but it's right for you. This might take other people by surprise, but you're stepping into who you truly are here with Pluto because it's in your psyche. So you're really tuning into the deep, you're diving deep into your soul and you're listening to your soul song with Pluto being in your first house. But as I say, Pluto can bring up control issues and obsession, so you kind of have to notice if you have any issues surrounding obsessiveness with yourself. And I don't mean that in a narcissistic way. That's not what I mean. I mean where you're maybe too self-critical or too self-focused in a way that is holding you back, Aquarius. So Jupiter is going through Aries until the 16th of May. This is going to bless your relationship with your siblings if you have them. This might also bring blessings when it comes to neighbors. Your neighbors may become your friends. Your siblings may become your friends. You may connect with old friends from school, or you might find that you are learning something around this time, Aquarius, like taking a short course, learning a language. You might be taking something like an online course or seminar series or something like that that's going to expand your mind. Jupiter going through the third house is really great for expanding your mindset, learning new skills, and learning new languages, learning something you can apply in everyday life. usually at a foundational level. So this can be where you've never spoken Italian, for example, and now you're taking level 1 Italian or something like this. You're going to find a lot of benefits here. This is also a great time if you're interested in writing pursuits or communication pursuits. The North Node moves into this area from the 17th of July. So if it's a destiny for you in this lifetime, Aquarius, to write a book or put something on the internet or communicate to an audience or something like that, this is the time you're going to do it if it's part of your destiny. This might also be a time where there are new beginnings when it comes to siblings, or when it comes to neighbors, or when it comes to adventures of the written word or communicative arts. There can be new beginnings here. There can also be a lot of short trips that you could be taking, or a new car in your life in 2023, Aquarius. Jupiter moves into your 4th house from the 16th of May onwards, and this might be a time where you notice blessings when it comes to your living situation, especially if you're an Aquarius rising. With the North Node having gone through there until the 17th of July, and the North Node meeting Jupiter in the middle, this can be a sign of a new property, a new home, or new beginnings and excitement when it comes to home and family affairs. Venus is going to go retrograde in your 7th house, Aquarius, from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. You're likely to run into an ex at least, or hear from an ex. Some of you might actually rekindle an old relationship. Some of you might run into some issues in a current relationship that need to be addressed. Venus retrogrades don't pull apart relationships that are solid and steady. And sometimes as well, when relationships end during the Venus retrograde period, they don't necessarily stay finished, but it can be a time where you realize if your partnerships are well suited and well matched for you, regardless of where you are in your relationship journey. But this can be a time when old issues crop up and you need to solve them within a relationship as well. So Aquarius, I am seeing as well that you might be leaving something behind when it comes to your career around the 5th of May. You might be letting something go career-wise, or you might be wrapping up some kind of chapter. There seems to be that there may be changes to your living situation as well around October at the very end, or into November. There might be a change in residency, or there might be a change when it comes to property or when it comes to family. There's also a new moon solar eclipse in Libra on the 14th, which could bring about something in terms of higher study. Maybe you're taking a course that is a diploma or a degree or a master's or something, or you're realizing you want to begin something new for yourself in terms of higher education, or even teaching around the middle of October, Aquarius. And this can also be that you're going to be taking a destined trip abroad in October, potentially, Aquarius. But that is what I have for you. I hope you have a beautiful 2023, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to your 2023 forecast. Pisces, you're one of the main stars of the 2023 show. Reason being, Saturn moves into your sign on the 7th of March. And this is just an hour or so after a full moon in your opposite sign of Virgo. So this Saturn in Pisces transit sort of starts with this concept of taking accountability and responsibility for self, perhaps due to partnership changes. So perhaps around this time there's some sort of change in your relationship life, and you're starting to see how you're going to need to be more responsible and accountable and mature. So perhaps for some of you that's that you're ending a relationship and you're stepping out on your own and you need to be more accountable, more self-sufficient. Perhaps for some of you, you meet someone very significant and you're like, right, well, I have to get my stuff together because this is going to be the person I marry, or the person that I'm in a long-term relationship with, or something like that in March. But Saturn going into your sign it's a real rite of passage, because your life is going to change. This is the beginning of a new life for you. And if you're a Pisces ascendant at 0 to 7 degrees of Pisces, you're going to feel this the most in 2023. This is a time, just checking to see if you can actually, I don't know if you can see my little crown or not. This is going to be a time where you're taking more accountability in your life. You're more responsible. For a lot of people with Saturn going through the 1st house, it's whenever they settle down, it's whenever they get married or they have babies for the first time, or they have to, they buy their first home. It's a real maturing It's a real learning curve as well, where you're taking on all these different responsibilities, you're becoming more accountable, and you're also probably taking a lot of responsibility when it comes to aging, Pisces. I actually saw, I think it was Astrolata, she mentioned that whenever Saturn goes through your first house or crosses your ascendant, you start to look younger because you're taking better care of yourself and your skin and things like that. So you might notice that with Saturn going through your first house, that you're taking a more mature response. You may also be taking on more mature styles. You might be styling yourself in a more mature fashion, more elegant, more classic, more Capricorn way. But this can also be something that is more true to your Piscean nature. So you might be incorporating more blues or greens into your fashion or something like that. You might be noticing that you're going for more classic cuts and styles with Saturn going through your first house. Sometimes Saturn going through the first house as well can also make you lose weight, perhaps due to the pressures that you're taking on with responsibility, but Saturn has that effect when it goes through the first house. Pluto moves into your 12th house on the 23rd of March, and it's going to be there until June when it retrogrades back into Capricorn, your 11th house. So this is a taster of things to come. Jupiter going into Aquarius in 2024 is going to be a very long cycle. So with this, it matters most if you have anything at about 0 degrees of Aquarius or 1 degree of Aquarius in your chart. But Pluto moving into the 12th house can be a time for you where you start to you'll have been doing a lot of work here with Saturn over the last couple of years, because Saturn has been in Aquarius since 2020. This might be a time where you notice that you really have to be true to yourself when it comes to your spirituality and when it comes to your inner world, because as a Piscean, your inner world is incredibly rich. The Pluto transits really are deep exploration. So this might be a time when you decide that you want to become a psychotherapist, you want to become a psychologist, you want to become a shaman, you want to become an astrologer, you want to become a healer. Pluto is really diving you deep into your relationship with the 12th house, and most Pisceans have a pretty strong one, usually find themselves in healing professions or mystical or spiritual professions. And if it's not even a professional thing, which it does not have to be, this can be a time when you're diving deeper into your relationship with these things, and it can be very intense, Pisces. But I feel like with Pluto being there, you're noticing what is truthful for you or not. And this can be something as simple as realizing that some of your beliefs, some of your psychological, some of your triggers, for example, might not be yours to carry. You might be noticing they come from a different source. This can also be where you find yourself better spiritual protection, because you may realize where you have some sort of unhealthy energetic attachment to someone or something and you're ready to cleanse it out of your life. And by that I mean that you might just be simply hyper focusing on something like tarot or astrology to avoid something within yourself, and you're really working through it with Pluto being there. Jupiter is going to be in Aries until the 16th of May, and this is great for your finances. This is a wonderful time for your finances. You might grow your finances substantially. Money is more easy to come by. Money is more easy to growing your finances, investing, all that sort of thing. Make sure you're not spending it all as you go though. Do put a lot of it away. With Jupiter in the second house, sometimes you can make grander purchases in the first half of the year. Jupiter moves into Taurus on the 16th of May. And this is bringing a lot of joy and blessings when it comes to siblings and when it comes to neighbors and when it comes to learning. A lot of you could be learning a language this year. A lot of you could be taking a short course in a topic that really enriches you. This is kind of foundational learning. It's not ninth house learning where you're doing a degree. You can still be doing that because we've had the South Node going through Scorpio. But this is more where you're going to start something new that you're learning that really excites you, energizes you, makes you feel optimistic. You're excited to go to this class, you're excited to take this course, you're excited for learning these new things, you're reading more books, you're taking more seminars, you're having more podcasts. And some of you are perhaps developing your relationship with your siblings, if you have them, in a way that is going to be more fun and exciting for you. Pisces, you might also get to take a lot of short trips this year, so road trips or short plane journeys or something like that, boat trips, all these kind of things. There's a lot of opportunities for those. The North Node moves into Aries on the 17th of July, and we have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries on the 20th of April. There's new beginnings coming to your financial life, new ways of making money, new ways of using your skills to make money, new financial ventures, new financial avenues. There seems to be a new financial beginning happening for you in the spring, Pisces. It looks like a new way of making money, or it looks like you begin a new relationship with your money, potentially, is the way that this could potentially play out. There's also going to be a new moon solar eclipse in your 8th house on the 14th of October, because when the North Node goes through the 2nd, the South Node goes through the 8th, you're looking like you're more financially independent this year, Pisces. You're making your own money. You're feeling really financially not necessarily on your own, but you're more in control of your own finances. And with the new moon solar eclipse in your 8th house, this could be that perhaps, say for example, you're now self-employed in 2023, you have to have a new tax, a new way of working through your taxes. So you maybe get an accountant in October, or you have something new when it comes to your relationship with other people's money, the money you owe the government, or the money that you owe investors, or something like this. But there can also be a new interest in October when it comes to studying the occult, or studying something that really helps you dive deep. It's like you have a new beginning when it comes to diving deep, something psychological, or something when it comes to maybe even your intimate relationships. There might be some sort of deepening or new beginning in an intimate relationship happening for you in October, Pisces. There's a Venus retrograde from the 22nd of July to the 3rd of September. Think back to 2015, what was going on for you in the summertime, because that is the last time Venus was retrograde in Leo. For you, this might be that if there's someone new starts in your workplace, or you get a new employee, don't count on them being around forever, because they are likely not. They may have a short purpose in your life, but they may leave. It is not the best time to start a work romance from 22nd of July to the 3rd of September, because it might not last, or it might go wrong. This can also be not the best time to start a new job, because it might not necessarily be what you want, or you may be finding that if you did begin a relationship in the workplace, if it's going wrong, this would be the time. Or it might just be if you've begun a workplace relationship, you're keeping it secret. This can also be a time when it comes to your health and your fitness. You may be feeling a little bit dissatisfied with your results, or something to do with your physical body. And this is a time when you might be feeling a little bit hard on yourself for that. But with Venus going through Leo for this amount of time, this is also a wonderful time to get healthy and really revisit your own decisions when it comes to your physical well-being, but also when it comes to your work ethic. This can be a time when there's a little bit of issue when it comes to your day-to-day work, with Venus retrograding in the 6th house, but not normally something to worry about. There can be miscommunications in the workplace around this time though. You may be traveling in May, or you may be wrapping up some kind of study in May with the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. This might be a time where you are taking a distance trip that is going to be in some way linked to your destiny. And this could be something that is quite significant for you, Pisces. It's at 14 degrees of Scorpio. So if you have 14 degrees of Scorpio in your birth chart, any placements around that degree, this can be particularly significant. If you've been studying at university, this might be a time when you get exam results, or a diploma, or something like that, or your degree itself. This can also be an exam period for you. Similarly, on the 28th of October, there can be exams with a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, or you might be wrapping up some sort of course, or getting some sort of certificate or diploma when it comes to something you've been studying on a smaller term, or a course or a class that you've been taking. There could also be something comes up with a sibling in October that is quite substantial as well. But Pisces, that is what I have for you. But obviously, if you're interested in a personal birth chart reading, you can contact me at the email in the description box, Pisces. But I hope you have a really blessed new year. Your life is going to change. Saturn brings about a new life, a new beginning for you, Pisces. So watch this space. I'll talk to you soon.